Somali Civil War has deep roots from imperialism, stemming from early African colonization. The original country of Somalia was two separate empires, British Somaliland and Italian Somalia. These countries eventually unified in 1960 to form Somalia. However, due to cultural and political differences, integrating these countries was difficult. This would set up future political instability for the country. Due to the border conflicts and instability, Somalia inducted the new dictator, Siad Barre. However, he was not ruling efficiently, and the economy was suffering. So Siad Barre started igniting conflicts between the different Somali clans to divert attention away from the country's problems. This led to revolts against him, and he was eventually overthrown in 1991. This is when a lot of foreign countries came into Somalia and colonized. Without a strong Somali leader, the US was able to claim up to 2/3 of Somalia's territory for oil reserves. On top of that, the Somali were having religion forced upon them by American troops. During this time, there were many skirmishes in Somalia against foreign troops, which led to the killing of 19 US soldiers and 24 from Pakistan. The Somali, on the other hand, took a hard hit with around 1,000 deaths. The whole mission, ended by the UN because of all the casualties, abruptly left on March 3, 1995. Abandoned with no government, no order, Somalia soon turned into a civil war between parties trying to take power. In Somalia, children as young as 8 are participating in this bloody war between huge clans fighting for power. Many villages are still uncleaned with remains of war. There are still unclean corpses left in villages and raging fires left from previous battles. Many Somali had to flee to makeshift refugee camps to escape the harsh conditions of the civil war. Since there are no currently promising signs of the fighting and bloodshed to stop, aid agencies are not stepping in to help Somalia. This will only lead to worse conditions. There are still many remains of war, such as tanks, left in these villages. They are often destroyed and left unregarded, just as a part of every day, serving a reminder of the daily ongoing conflict that is occurring in Somalia. Currently in Somalia, there are many factions, some powerful, made up of different native clans. These factions use many weapons ranging from guns, grenades, knives, and vehicles such as tanks and trucks. In the Somalian Civil War, violence and weapons are the main tactics of the radical factions to seize power and control of Somalia. There has been attempted diplomacy from foreign nations such as the United Nations and local Somali leaders to achieve a ceasefire in Mogadishu, Somalia during the Somalian War to subdue the factions. But their diplomatic and military efforts are unsuccessful due to the Somali government's inactiveness, which led to the ongoing debate between many Somalian government and faction leaders on whether the implementation of violence is needed to create change because of the political diplomatic deficiencies of the Somalian government. A primary source from the Mogadishu faction in 2007. This is the new leader of the Republic of Somalia for pacification after the previous one had been assassinated. Here, in irony, he's collecting guns and weapons from people while threatening them with arms. He continues to say, "We kill if they refuse to disarm. We have the authority to shoot." This brings on the debate of the efficiency of the use of violence to create political change. A primary source from a powerful faction leader in North Mogadishu, Ali Mahdi. He claims that pacification prevents progression in Somalia and that violence is necessary.
Negotiating with him for 5 years. He never accepted what is the desire of the people. He never accepted. He is the man who wants only to have the power through the barrel of
In
the
this
gun.
interview, Ali Mahdi is referring to the leader of the Republic of Somalia for Pacification, who was previously shown. Ali Mahdi is saying, no matter what the people want, the Somali government does not listen, so banning guns is unnecessary because violence is needed for change. This is a primary source from Osman Hassan Aliado, a former finance minister in a Somalian faction. He left the faction due to his own realization and opinion on the inefficiency of violence, because it just leads to a new dictator taking charge.
The reason we do have this bill is I did want to take Somalia, conquer Somalia by force. And that is creating another dictator.
Here, a meeting with the Somali government is held to discuss the questioning and requests of the government brought upon by the previous men. The Somali government has a simple response of ignoring the issue brought up. Another shortcoming of the Somalian government was their failure to hold up their diplomatic promises. At a meeting designed to aid Somalia and stop the civil war in the ECA headquarters in Addis Ababa from January 4th to January 15th, 1993, with 14 Somali leaders and Secretary Generals from the United Nations, Organization of African Unity, and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, established several terms and agreements on the General Agreement of January 8th, 1993. Here on this agreement, the implementation of ceasefire and disarmament of the Somalian people was agreed upon to provide safety for the foreign aid. However, when the foreign aid came to Somalia to help, they were soon welcomed with armed attacks, and the UN soldiers lost around 19 lives, and the OIC lost 24. The peacekeeping mission left shortly after because of the present danger. This result of not being able to uphold the diplomatic promises spoiled a potential savior to the Somali crisis. The short-term effect of the failed diplomacy was the leaving of the United Nations out of Somalia, and Mogadishu, Somalia, turning into a war zone with worsening conditions. However, on a long-term global scale, this would cause Somalia to fall behind the rest of the world technologically, politically, economically, and socially while they are stuck on the civil war. This would also cause foreign aid to be skeptical to come back again because of the previously violated diplomatic terms. The resolution of the Somali civil war has been long awaited. This issue has been neglected for decades, and it is about time a stable government should be set up. In order to solve the civil war, Somalia first needs to address their internal problems on how to achieve pacifism, whether violently or non-violently. Then, light needs to be shed on the situation, and foreign countries can come in for aid. And Somalia needs to stay on their agreements so order can be restored.